Welcome everyone to the CalFresh Outreach California Higher Education Contract webinar. We're going to go ahead and wait for just another moment to get started, but good morning and thank you for joining. Good morning and again welcome to the CalFresh Outreach California Higher Education Contract webinar. We will be getting started in just one more minute. Thank you all for joining.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Again, welcome to the 2018-2020 CalFresh Outreach California Higher Education Contract webinar. That was a mouthful. This is Stephanie Bianco. I'm the Associate Director of the Center for Healthy Communities at CSU Chico. We have quite a few people in the room with us here. We were hoping to hear from Colleen Ganley. We didn't see her on the participant list, not to say she's not there, but we weren't sure who she called in with. So if she can chat with us somehow and let us know, that would be great. Otherwise, we're going to begin the presentation. In the room with me is Jenny Breed, who is the CalFresh Outreach Project Director, and she's been overseeing our CalFresh Outreach contracts for I think 6 years. We have Amy Reason. She is our fiscal analyst at the center and is instrumental in helping with much of the reporting for this contract. We also have Naomi Stamper, who assists with the reporting requirements and works with campuses one-on-one to help with the documents. We have Brandy Seminaro. She is, some of you may already know her. She has helped present the trainings to individual campuses and is instrumental in the implementation of the project on campuses. So, did we hear from us? She just answered and should be joining shortly. Thank you, Jessica, for letting us know. In the meantime, we have the purpose of this webinar, just to briefly mention to you, is basically to talk about what CalFresh Outreach is, what CalFresh is actually, to identify that, and how we can work together across the state to provide this important service to our high need students in the California community colleges, as well as the CSUs and the UCs. So now I just want to briefly do like an overview of our webinar today. We're going to talk about what the rates are for student food insecurity. I know many of you are already well aware of it, so we'll go over that briefly. We're going to talk about what CalFresh is, what CalFresh Outreach is, what the scope of work is for this contract. We'll be kind of reviewing that fiscal picture of the contract so you can kind of visualize it, what it looks like. And Amy's going to go into detail about those fiscal requirements. Okay, so the next slide, just briefly, there was a very large study that was done across the United States. It's one of the most well-known through the National Student Campaign Against Hunger and Homelessness. This report was done in 2016, and you can see that 48% of our college students are considered high need and food insecure. This is important because this number actually represents community colleges and four-year public and private universities. So it's really, oh, I'm sorry, I believe this one is just public universities. So the numbers are shocking to many in the United States, probably not to all of you because you have firsthand knowledge of this problem on our campuses. And without this service, it's going to be difficult for them to succeed in school. Amy, did you
Go ahead.
go ahead?
So,
Oh, okay. So we're going to start with Jenny, and she's going to start talking about the definition of CalFresh.
Terrific. Good morning, everyone. And I'm happy to see some names that I remember from the trainings that we did on campus. So welcome, and I hope that this is very informative for you. I know some of you guys heard about what is CalFresh, but I want to make sure that the new folks that are on the line do have a basic understanding of it. So I'm just going to do just a couple slides on what is CalFresh. It is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. That is the federal name. It is funded through the Farm Bill, the United States Department of Agriculture, FNS, and comes to the state of California, to the California Department of Social Services, and then is funneled into CalFresh Outreach. And it is a resource for students to help them buy additional food for themselves or their household at any store that accepts EBT. So you do have to be eligible for the program, but definitely students who are food insecure, this could be a great resource. It's not the end-all be-all for students, but it is definitely a great resource. Students can actually purchase whole grains, lean proteins, and seeds and plants that produce food. And it cannot be used to purchase hot, ready-to-eat foods, alcohol, tobacco, medication, or supplements. So again, it helps promote that healthy eating, which supports their academic success. And just as a reminder, EBT card actually holds all public benefits, so not just CalFresh. So that's an important distinction. And in the picture down at the bottom on the right side is what an actual EBT card looks like, and that holds all public benefits. This next slide I'd like to share with you all, because a lot of you have farmers markets either on your campus or near your campus, and so this is a great partnership. So if you're signing up a gazillion students on CalFresh, they have these EBT cards, and the farmers market actually accepts CalFresh EBT. Those students can use their EBT right there on campus or nearby. And currently, the Ecology Center has a market match application out, so that if your farmers market applied to be a market match provider, they could actually double their bucks, which is a great opportunity for students to get more for their CalFresh benefits. The other program that I want to share with you is the restaurant meal program. There are basically, if you are a participating county, so you can look, there's only about 8 or so counties who are part of this program. And number 2, if you have students who are homeless, disabled, or over 60, they actually can have their EBT card tagged to be able to use their CalFresh benefits to get a hot meal. And to find participating restaurants, we do have a link here. Obviously, this is part of the slide, so if you would like that information, go ahead and send us an email at chicostatecfosubs@gmail.com, and that will also be at the end of our slides too. There's also some new legislation regarding dining halls on campuses accepting EBT, and that is ACL 16-112. So again, if you're interested in that, let us know. But all of this is tied into CalFresh, right? If we have students who are food insecure, who are eligible for the program, they can use those CalFresh benefits on campus at farmers markets or little mini markets on your campus. I know some campuses are looking at doing that. And then we have some campuses that are working with their dining halls to become part of the restaurant meal program. So why does the state of California actually fund CalFresh Outreach? And that's because California actually ranks 3rd to last among the states for participation. So there are about 3 million Californians who are eligible but not participating, which translates to $2.5 billion per year in federal benefits. Every CalFresh dollar that a recipient receives is actually a federal dollar. So you can imagine the state of California really would like to draw down more federal benefits to maximize the number of federal dollars coming into our state, as well as bring a benefit into folks that live in California. And it's expensive to live here, and especially as a student. So it's important to know the distinction. The counties do the CalFresh program, and we do the CalFresh Outreach program. So if you're part of the contract or you're not part of the contract, I think it's just good to always refer to yourself as CalFresh Outreach. And CalFresh Outreach is truly implemented in partnership with state and county social service offices. And we help through the entire process. And we help the students through the entire application process as well as gather their verification documents. And not a day goes by that I don't help spread correct, unbiased information about the program. That's definitely a huge piece of the work that we do. On campuses, we're also going to network with any of the organizations or programs that are working with our low-income students or our neediest students. We also would provide bilingual support, create resources that help specific populations, and we might help interpret some of the county notices or problem solve with a student. Really, our role is to help a student overcome 3 hurdles. 1, get that application completed, complete their interview, and then submit their verifications. Those are the 3 hurdles that I've seen over the years that students really need assistance to actually keep their benefit for the year. Here's just a couple of pictures of us out in the field at a farmer's market and actually in Sacramento doing some advocacy work. Here at Chico State, we actually fold CalFresh Outreach under our Basic Needs Initiative. So we work very closely with our pantry, which also has OVP Veggie Bucks. It also has an app for leftover foods. And we've added housing recently. So basically, CalFresh Outreach is just one food assistance resource, but it's definitely a food assistance resource that complements the other ones that you might have on your campus. And it's a federal benefit that would enable a student to actually learn some of those meal planning and grocery shopping and provide them an opportunity to actually buy things that maybe fit with their nutritional needs. And so a food pantry might be I'm hungry today, I need something right now, and then let's see if you're eligible for CalFresh. Let's get you on that benefit so you can go grocery shopping all year. There are basically 2 program contract scope of work items under this program, and I'm going to go into each of those a little bit more in just a second. So there is also confidentiality agreements that everyone who is helping students would need to complete, and this is just to ensure that all of the students and staff who are working with our students really understand the confidentiality requirements of personal information. And there's also a civil rights training that we all have to go through, which is about, I think, 10 minutes long. I haven't done it in a while. I probably am due. And then just to put out there that what we have found to be really successful on campuses is really to have a student staff team with some leadership, interns, putting that all together, who are working in the pantry, who are also working with CalFresh Outreach, can really be a nice, effective program. So that's what we're hoping to see on your campus. For scope of work number 1, it is called Submitted Applications. Under Submitted Applications, all of these 4 bullets fall. So promotion and outreach, this includes any announcements, material distributions, workshops, presentations, anything that is promoting or outreaching onto your campus. Secondly, application assistance. We definitely use online portals. There are 3 online portals in the state. We sometimes will use a paper application. Once we sign up a student or help a student apply, we're going to fill out a contact form, which we give you, and you'll enter that into a master log, which we give you that also. Both of those things enable us to roll up all the data very easily. We do ask that the campuses have a drop-in assist day, 1 day a week. This really will help your campus and your students know that having a consistent day and time and place with a consistent phone and email sort of will build your reputation across campus that, oh, go Mondays, 10 to 4, that's when drop-in assist is. We're also available other times during the week by appointment, but having that drop-in assist is definitely just one thing. And it might be you start out with Mondays from 1 to 5. Whatever that would be on your campus, we do ask that you have a drop-in assist day. The other thing that we ask is that you have a CalFresh day. And so this would be a more of a bigger event that's like 4 hours, and it could be a standalone event, or it could be alongside another campus event. Again, these have been shown as best practices, and so that's what we'd like to do, is to jumpstart you with those particular things. And we provide all the training and support around those particular items too. The second scope of work is approved applications. So all of the below work also falls under this approved applications. So this is where we're working with students to support their successful applications. So we're texting them a week or so after they complete their application and asking, did you hear from the county? Do you have an interview scheduled? Do you know what verifications you need to get in? We might also do copying and faxing or even uploading to their application. One of the big things that we do is really work with the county liaisons to support successful applications. So this might be knowing the point person at your local county office. They know who your point person is, and then being able to facilitate that conversation about particular students and or feedback regarding applications, or just even training needs, conversation that supports successful applications. And then the third and fourth bullet are really related to supporting a student being on the program all year. So that's the 6-month reporting, the SAR 7, as well as the annual reporting. Okay. So the scope of work reporting requirements are basically quarterly. We would ask that you took a screenshot of your online portal and submit that with your master log, which would show the number of applications via paper or online. And it would also show approved applications if you had that information available. Mid-year and annually, there's also a narrative report that is required, which is basically, there are probably 8 questions that we just ask that you answer twice a year. So that is the program side of the CalFresh Outreach contract. Now I'm going to turn it over to Amy so she can talk about the fiscal side.
Thank you, Jenny, for the program overview. I always learn something new every time I hear you present it. So this is Amy Reeson. I'm the fiscal analyst with the center. And before I dive into the fiscal requirements, I just wanted to back up to something Jenny said in the beginning, that this is funded through USDA, through the Farm Bill, and the funds go to the California Department of Social Services. And California Department of Social Services every 2 years releases a competitive RFA for 2-year grant cycles. We are currently starting our 2nd year of our current contract, and so we are preparing for submission of a proposal this coming spring. That would be for the years of federal fiscal year 2019 and 2020. So that would be October 1st of 2018 through September 30th of 2020. And again, we anticipate that that proposal will be due this coming spring. So of course, we are having this webinar with you to invite your campuses to become a part of this CalFresh outreach proposal. And as Stephanie said in the beginning, we're really hoping to put together a competitive proposal that includes CSU campuses, UC campuses, and then of course, community college campuses. We have currently 7 prime contractors. Oh wait, no, is it now 11? Excuse me. Prime contractors across the state of California, of which CSU Chico is just one. And we anticipate that number will continue to grow as it has over the last few years. I want to, before I dive into this slide, just really reassure you, for those campuses who are interested in joining this proposal development process, I want to reassure you that we will help you through the entire process beginning to end. We have a robust team here available to help support your campus wherever you're at. So I'm going to dive into some of the fiscal requirements for becoming a subcontractor of a CFO contract. So just overarching. So the fiscal requirements, so these budgets, I will tell you they are a little bit tricky because they are made up of both federal share and state share budgets. This contract refers to state share. You might be more familiar with that being called match or cost share or in kind. Then federal share is the proportion that of the budget that is requested funds or reimbursable funds. So I'm going to dive into that here in just a moment. Also to note, this contract does allow for full federally negotiated on-campus indirect rates. You might be more familiar with that being called F&A, or facilities and administration costs. That we are so grateful that we are able to recognize full on-campus rates because then that means your campus is covering their full cost of facilities and administration on these contracts. For example, our campus rate right now is 41.5%. I'm not sure how that compares to a community college campus, but I'm sure someone in your special programs or grants and contracts office would be able to help you identify that rate. These are detailed cost reimbursed budgets. You might be more familiar with like a 9-line item budget. That is what is used with these proposals. And it's really critical from the jumping off point to coordinate with your special programs or foundation offices, as they would be able to help you not only identify that federally negotiated on-campus rate, but also develop these detailed budgets for both federal share and state share costs. I have linked on this slide here the current USDA guidance, which gives more details about the makeup of these contracts, both programmatically and fiscally, and we will be sure to share these slides with you so you can access that link. So some factors to consider when you're diving into the fiscal picture. One, huge piece is really looking at your existing resources on your campus. So Jenny mentioned that some of our campuses that we're currently working with are working on multiple factors of addressing basic needs and food insecurity. So you might have already a campus food pantry, or you might already have some resources through your financial aid offices, your health centers, so on and so forth, that are already reaching these students. So it's really looking at what are those existing resources and how do we place a value on those resources to be able to make up that state share budget. Another piece to consider is also that scope of work. So Jenny just went in depth about the 2 scope of work items. So there's applications submitted and applications approved. California Department of Social Services places a value of $320 per each approved application. So when developing your scope of work for this contract, we would be looking at what are your estimated number of applications submitted that you anticipated, and then from there, what percentage would be anticipated that it would be approved. Jenny, remind me, statewide right now, the percentage of approved applications is around 58. Thank 58%. You. Thank you, 58%. So we would be looking at both of those numbers and then coming up with a estimated value. So next we have an example of how this would look in the scope of work document. But I just show this to be able to, or I share this with you to be able to show how the Department of Social Services provides a value for those scope of work items. In this example on the screen, it reflects 469 approved electronic applications would then provide a budget, a total budget value up to $150,000, $150,080. So this gives a benchmark for an up to total budget. Now, when I say a total budget, or here at the bottom, it refers to a combined budget, that is looking at both the federal share and the state share together. Next slide, Brandy. So let's take a look at what that would mean. So in a budget combine of up to $150,000 might be broken out like this. This is an example of a budget summary where you'll see a state share or not reimbursable column. That is, again, your match or your cost share. A federal share or reimbursable column. That is your requested funds, for then a total program cost of about $150,000. The key here is that bottom line where it says percent of federal share to state share. Again, the federal share amount can be up to 50% of the state share amount, or another way of looking at it as your federal share amount is 1/3 of the total budget. Now, I recognize that this may seem like a lot of state share or match, and that's why we want to emphasize again, those factors to consider. Really, where are your existing resources and how are you able to place a value on that state share? And so Stephanie is going to go into detail about that here in just a moment. But before we dive more into state share, I want to just discuss the fiscal reporting requirements really quickly for the contract, as Jenny mentioned the scope of work reporting requirements. So similar to the scope of work reporting, there is quarterly reporting on fiscal as well. We provide the template for the invoice. We also provide a template for time and effort forms. Time and effort forms are essentially like a timesheet and are used for backup documentation for all personnel costs. Backup documentation is not required for other cost categories at the time of invoicing, but we do ask that that be retained on site for periodic desk reviews of all of your backup documentation. And again, I say periodic because it is infrequent, but as with any contract or grant, we are required to monitor all fiscal expenditures to assure that they align with the intentions of the contract. So let's dive more into state share. I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie Bianco.
Great. And I do see that there's been a few questions being proposed on the chat. What I'd like to do is just finish up these last couple of slides, and then we will go through those questions and we will answer them at the end. The reason we have this particular slide up and why we're focusing so much on this is because it does seem a little overwhelming when people see these numbers on a budget. And the first thing that happens is that someone will look at the state share and say, we have no money to give you. Okay, that's the first statement I always hear. And we want to make it perfectly clear that this contract is not about obtaining dollars from campuses or organizations. It's about capturing the time that is already being spent on these activities. So this is where we really need you to start thinking about what you're currently doing on your campuses right now before we start moving forward with the contract. Because the more you identify these contributions from your campus, the larger your budget will actually be, and the more we can provide to our students. So here is an example of one in our current contract and how our current contract is working with 11 campuses. So I've just put this down as an example using the numbers that we currently use. So you can see at the very top where I mention here state funded time and support services. So this would be the in-kind efforts, again, not money, things that you're already doing for our low-income students related to CalFresh. So one in which, if you do have this contract, would be just the staff that you would have working on the contract. Interns, for example. We have college students who are actually getting paraprofessional work experience on the contract, providing these services to other students, and they're learning the entire process. And so the fact that you could actually be supervising these students, especially faculty, that's a great resource. The time they spend actually supervising them, recruiting them, all of that is actually captured, and it's quite a bit of money. So if you think about the wages and the fringe benefits of those faculty, it really adds up quickly. So when we're looking at state share, we really do want to look at personnel, because that's where we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck. You want to look at the student services that you're already offering. Are you actually encouraging students already to sign up for these types of social services like CalFresh? That's time you can capture. Are you talking about it at your meetings, at your department meetings? Are you encouraging students in advising? There's in the food pantries a place for recruitment. There's a lot of information that goes into the training for CalFresh outreach. And even in terms of looking at cultural differences, socioeconomic status, what it means to live on a limited budget. These are all things that we could try to capture as state funding. And we will, as Amy and Jenny said, we will walk through these steps with you. But what we want you to do is kind of try to document at this point, what are those types of services that are already going on? And if you don't even have them right now, but you have the support of your administrators to move forward, that's another way to look at this contract, is what could we be doing? So basically what we've done is that we look at that state time and effort, and we convert that to dollars, right, as in-kind contributions. Remember, the state is looking at what are these organizations doing to support this effort. They take that amount and then they match it, the total contrib being 77%. And so you can see that the money going back to the campuses and for CalFresh outreach as 1.6 million with this particular example. And then CDSS, California Department of Social Services, they actually view then our CalFresh outreach contract as a total of the state share and that federal reimbursement. So you can see in this example, it's a $3.6 million CalFresh outreach contract. The best part is that when you look at that small amount of money relative to that 39.6 million, and what that is the actual money going into students' pockets. And how we reach that number is by looking at an average of $150 in CalFresh benefits that go to one student for 12 months. And over the course of the year, and in this example, we have 22,000 students, it actually generates 39.6 million. So that small 2 million in state funded time and support is putting $40 million into the pockets of students for food. This is a huge, huge impact for a very minimal investment. And then as Jenny mentioned, there's this economic impact factor. It used to be 179. Now the national government did another study and it's $1.80, which makes a difference. That penny makes a difference. And so what is expected is that with that $40 million that's being brought, this is new money being brought from the federal government to our state, it's generating $70 million in activity, right? So for our service region, and our California residents, so huge. So I spent a lot of time on that slide, but it's one that confuses many people. And again, they'll say, we have no money to provide for this contract. And you say, no, 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 we're capturing time we are already dedicating. That's the mantra. No, we're capturing time we already spent, right? Brandy, if you could hit that. Okay, so what we want you to do is really see if, based on what we've mentioned here today, if being a subcontractor will work for you. And we know that we gave you a lot of information, but again, I want to re-emphasize the point that we have all of these documents and all these materials and all these activities already created. It's a matter of doing the training and technical assistance to help you through those steps. And thinking about the capacity you have in terms of staff, whether you're providing similar types of services, that you can identify that state share contribution and the location for CalFresh application assistance. These are some things we want you to think about. When you become a subcontractor, We, again, will provide you with that training and technical assistance. That's what T and TA mean. The templates, again, for all of the actual proposal templates, as well as templates for reporting purposes once we get the contract. And moving forward, what's really important in terms of having this contract set in stone is that you do have to have an authorized signatory for this proposal. So as a subcontractor, again, you need to reach out to whether it's your foundation, your sponsored projects or programs offices, anyone who handles grants and contracts. Since we're not with the California Community Colleges, we don't have those individual names, but I'm sure if you don't know, someone at your district will know. Colleen at the Chancellor's office, there are individuals that can help you find that person. Not quite sure here. That's exactly what I was just saying, is that finding out how your system works with these types of reimbursement dollars and contracts, knowing who that this is going to work through. So even though you may be passionate about this, you absolutely have to have someone at the community college system that knows you're doing it and that needs to sign off on it.
Well, and can administer the contract and submit invoices and
Correct.
accept reimbursement. So that is a critical piece for setting you up for success. Right. And there are some options listed there as far as, how the structure might look. It might be individual campuses wanting to become subcontractors. There might be some clustering of campuses that are able to work together, whether it's within a district and maybe the district can manage the contract, or there's a lead campus. And we're open to helping explore those options of how to set up a subcontract and who that contracting entity might be.
Okay, and if again you're thinking about this and you're interested and you kind of develop a little group on your campus, we are going to ask for a letter of intent. It will be brief, and if you'll hit the next slide, it would be potentially due, we're hoping, due on February 1st, so you have some time. And essentially you would just give us your campus name, your district name, the lead person name, their title, department, office, their email, phone number, and then about 250 words basically telling us the need on your campus. If you do have data on food insecurity on your campus, that would be great, or even in your area or the area around your campus would be helpful. Your existing resources, whether it's food pantries, emergency assistant, other types of social services related to basic needs, and any type of basic need collaborations. So we're looking for campuses that are really ready to implement this program, and they've got the support they need to make it happen. So the next steps then will be that we're going to post these directions for the letter of intent on our CHC, or Center for Healthy Communities CalFresh Outreach website. We would like you to start thinking about a staffing plan, a location for your CalFresh application assistance, and again, really trying to find that person at your office of grants and contracts who you would need to communicate with. So that is what we have for our information today. I would like to look at the chat real quick, and then we were going to open it up for some questions, but let's look here. Can you scroll up to the top?
Yeah, so Colleen is on the line. So let's go ahead and unmute Colleen's line.
That would be great.
So she's able to add.
Hi there, hello.
Okay, Colleen, you should be unmuted.
Great, can you hear me? Hi there, can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Great, okay. First off, I apologize deeply. I had this on my calendar for 10:30. This has been a great webinar. I think probably the most important point that you all made, first off, I'm calling it as a topic, and I've been Jenny and her team from the Center for Healthy Communities over the last year doing CalFresh enrollment trainings and trying to promote CalFresh enrollment and food resources for students at the colleges. I've just been here for about a year. Probably the most important point that really was established toward the end of the webinar was that you guys at the campus level need to connect either with your vice president of student services and someone in your business office in writing the letter of intent to participate, to apply to participate. So,
Colleen, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're
yes.
having folks responding that they can't hear very well.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you are close to your microphone, if you might be able to try and speak right into the microphone a little bit.
Okay, let me try this. Is that better?
Okay, try it one more time, Colleen.
Hi there, is this better?
We have a lot of echoing.
Okay, hold on one moment. Let me try something different. Can you hear me now?
Ooh, say that one more time.
Can you hear me now?
That is much clearer. Thank you, Colleen. Sorry for the interruption.
No, so let me just start from the beginning. I'm Colleen from the Chancellor's Office, and my work area is food, housing, basic needs, health, and mental health. I've been working with the Center for Healthy Communities up at Chico and the whole wonderful group over the last year doing CalFresh enrollment trainings and promoting CalFresh enrollment services for students and just general food security for students in the community college system. I think, just to recap what I said that most people couldn't hear me say, was the most important thing that our partners here talked about was reaching out to the VPs on your campuses of student services and engaging them in the fact that you all are interested in participating in this contracting opportunity, because at the end of the day, they'll need to be integrated into, signing off on contracts and understanding the scope of work and understanding the terms of the contract. So that's a pretty important piece to make sure that you take this information. If you feel like you guys are already doing this work at your campus and can capture this in kind and capture other resources that are being designated to get students on CalFresh, you take that plan to your VP of Student Services and explain what a really great opportunity this is. But you don't want to invest too much work into it until you've gotten their buy-in as well. So I think we could carry on with the Q&A. I'm available to help any of the campuses that are interested to sort of participate in thinking through what you're currently doing and how that might qualify as match. I am pretty knowledgeable about capturing state share for these kind of contracting purposes. So I'm very interested in helping you all get yourself situated to participate and leverage these dollars.
Terrific. Thank you, Colleen.
And just to reiterate, thank you, Colleen. I think that leveraging the dollars is really key here. So if you are already doing this on your campus, why not get reimbursed for a third of it? You don't have to be a part of this contract, but definitely you'll get the third reimbursement. You'll get training and technical assistance to further your efforts with some best practices. But definitely there are some campuses that, are well on their way and, might not need to be a part of the subcontract, or you might help us be leaders and support all the other campuses. So again, we're just sharing this information with you as an option because I think our vision here is that all of the college campuses across the state of California do have CalFresh application assistance on their campus. We see the need for it. We've seen the food insecurity rates, and we know that the student eligibility with the counties, there are some hiccups. And so I think having that support is really going to help our students all across the state have access to the CalFresh benefits. So just to wrap that up, I know we have a few questions here.
Great. So,
I think there was one that asked about the PowerPoint. I was sharing the slide. We can.
So the first question is, will you be sharing the PowerPoint? Yes, absolutely. We'll be sharing the slides. Next question, does the 58% application approval rate consider apps that are not completed?
No, those are all applications that have been completed and submitted to the counties.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, my understanding is that is a statewide percentage. So there might be more details, you know, that your county could provide as far as their application approval rate, but that's a good jumping off point for folks who don't have more detailed information.
Yeah, some counties are lower than that and some counties are higher than that, but that's a general.
Great. So the next question, has CDSS identified a cost value for applications submitted, though not approved? So for applications submitted, whether electronic or paper, the value is $0. So what they really are honing in on are approved applications. Now, again, that is just your benchmark for developing your budget. And so that's, of course, not to say that there is no cost incurred in getting applications submitted. There absolutely is, but they really are honing in on getting applications not only submitted, but through that 30-day process and approved. I want to make a note also in our contract, there is no penalty language for if you're not able to complete the full scope of work. So let's say, for example, you had in your scope of work that you anticipate getting 50 applications submitted and 100 approved, and at the end of your first year, you have just 95. There is no penalty language in the contract that says you would be no invoice amount would be withheld or anything like that. So again, your scope of work is a goal, and it gives you a benchmark for building what they deem as appropriate value for your budget to correspond. Next question.
There's a question related to what does the technical assistance support look like? And so, Tanya, just to give you an idea, we provide conference calls, we provide webinars. Sometimes those are groups, sometimes those are individual. We'll provide quarterly feedback via email regarding your reports, as well as some areas that you might want to look at the next quarter. We also have physically will come to your campus once a year and do that face-to-face training. And basically, we're here for you. So we want to hear, we get emails every day, we get phone calls every day from campuses, and just really trying to help move the efforts forward as far as having students be successful with their application. Hope that helps.
And can I also just add to that, Jenny, because again, I learn from your team every time I go to these trainings that how wonderful they are working through any hiccups that you might have with your county and just getting a better understanding of college student eligibility, because this is a very unique population and the county eligibility workers aren't always as familiar with the exceptions for students. And so really we help be an advocate for you of trying to get student applications approved and through that 30-day process. Okay. We have another couple of questions. I have been currently signing up students for CalFresh, but we're not a subcontractor. What would be our next steps to becoming a subcontractor?
So there's two thoughts that I have, Shannon, for you. One is we will be putting together a proposal early spring. It's usually a fast turnaround. That's why we sort of plant the seeds early in the year, even though that contract wouldn't start for a year. It just takes a while to go through the contracting process. So that possibility to become part of our formal CalFresh outreach contract with the California Department of Social Services, you would submit a letter of intent by January, and then you would
by February 1st.
And then you would work with us to submit a scope of work and a budget. And then we would roll that all up into a CalFresh outreach proposal for the campuses and submit that to the state. There is another option that I'll just throw out there. We have had a couple colleges that do have some funds available to support training and technical assistance right now. So if that's something that is going on your campus, yeah, please reach out to myself and Colleen, and we can look at that option for you too.
Great. Next question. Is it possible for the colleges to see a sample of what the contract looks like so their VPs and other administrators can see the general terms that they will be signing off on beforehand? And yes, absolutely. So we can provide samples of scopes of work, of budgets, and the full agreement language that we've used in the past. We can't be certain that that language will remain exactly the same for the next funding cycle because of course we're still waiting for that RFP to be released, but we're confident that it wouldn't drastically change between now and then. So yes, we can share the examples we have currently.
Okay, scroll down.
So that's all of the questions
Yay,
that we have
examples,
so
yay.
far.
Yes, we will have examples.
Yes, absolutely.
And in terms of, like we said, that we do provide templates. I mean, we even do so much as to help you write an actual narrative for your submission so that you can see one already written and then you can tweak it to match your campus. So we provide a lot of hands-on support for that.
So we've now put up our contact information. And if you would like to reach us with any other questions you might have, you can email the three of us listed there, Stephanie Bianco, Jenny Breed, and Amy Reeson, and one of us will get back to you. We also will be providing these slides and more information on our website here soon for you to have more information at your fingertips as well.
As well as the samples.
Right. Oh, yes. Thank you. As well as the samples.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looks like that might be the end.
Are there any other questions?
When will this information all be available? Definitely by, what would you say, by the...
Within the week?
How about within the next 2 weeks? So we'll say like mid-October, and then we can update you if for any reason that time frame changes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you, everyone. Feel free to go ahead, Amy.
No, go ahead.
Feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Again, this was meant to be an overarching information about the program, but if you have specific questions about how this might look on your campus or work with your campus or contracting with your campus, just reach out to us.
And just again, once that letter of intent comes out, this is Stephanie, we will be providing another webinar on the actual application itself and those details. So again, you'll be supported throughout this entire process. So I know that, again, this was a lot of information, but we just wanted to make this more introductory for you.
And if you have hiccups with the state share part of it, Stephanie is definitely terrific at having that conversation with you and your campus to come up with that. So if you have an interest in this contract and you've got some good resources and momentum on your campus, please let us help you. We've been doing this contract for 10 plus years and we're very familiar with the requirements. So we just want to spread the word and get everyone signed up. So
thank you.
With that, I say have a great morning, have a great day, have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.